Hi Olivia, this is Fancy, and I'm looking at your design and comparing it to what you said, and also it's always helpful if you can kind of recap the feedback. Even sometimes when I go through critique, I have a hard time remembering exactly what I said regarding the students' work because there's so many of you, um, over 50 to be exact. Anyway, looking at this design, I get a sense somewhat that you broke up your composition into kind of the major color families. Um, so we're looking at straight shots between the cyan, green, and yellow, and then the yellow to orange to magenta, and then magenta to purple to cyan. But here and here I get a sense, and maybe the yellow, I get a sense of, the composition being broken up into major hue areas, but not for the purple. The purple and the magenta, and especially the orange, don't seem to be well represented. So before you start working with your visual pathways, I feel like you need to kind of break up the composition and divide it up into kind of color families the way that you had done here. And then you can start to, pull the eye around to those different areas with your visual pathways. Also here I see single pathways and I see what appear to be double pathways. So I think you need to kind of decide, and then I see these big chunks of color. So it doesn't seem to hang together well with regards to that in terms of so many things going on, and it's a little bit too much to be a unified design. Also, see how in this area your gradations progress a little bit more smoothly than, say, the yellow area where it starts to break up and alternate between two pretty high contrast values within the yellow scale. In this double visual pathway, it's a nice transition between purple to magenta, and then it kind of stops. So your question is it okay to have these visual pathways that um, kind of go throughout the design? And it is, and I would think that as you're creating the pathways, you want gradation, of course, and then they can gradate within a single hue or they can gradate across hues. And so just using vanishing boundaries or hues that are next to each other that have similar values will help you make that transition. But first, again, I think you need to organize the composition in terms of major hue areas. If you find it's difficult to divide it equally between 6 hues, then maybe concentrate on more emphasis placed on the primary hue areas and then maybe smaller secondary hue areas. But you've got to we're not getting a sense of transparency here yet. Getting a sense of gradation, but not transparency.